So you're watching this because you want to learn how to memorize names when it comes to events that you've gone to, networking events. You've gone out to different places, you met different people, and you think that you find it difficult to memorize names, or you just think it's just something that you can't do, or you just don't know how to do it. So today I want to share with you some steps or some things that you can do now so you can memorize names. These are things that I've done, so we'll get into it. But first, I need you to go ahead and like this video. I need you to just subscribe to the channel. That helps me to help more people like you to get more information, tips, and suggestions out there. My name is Lutalo K. I'm a social media and network strategist. So I just like helping people when it comes to networking and social media and being more efficient. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So one of the first things that we need to get clear and off the table is the notion that I can't remember a name. That's the first mistake that you make when you're thinking you're wanting to remember a name by already putting in your mind, you're already sabotaging yourself and saying, well, I just can't remember names. No, you can remember names. It's if you want to, there are probably hundreds of people that when you see, you already know. And there have been some things probably in the back of your head subconsciously that you've done to remember those names. And maybe you say, hey, now it takes me a minute to learn. Well, we'll go over some steps that it could take you a little bit faster and get you a little bit first. But like I said, the first thing is making sure you get the mindset that I can't remember. As soon as you say I can't, you've already sabotaged yourself. You already put yourself in a situation where you just excluded yourself, or you've taken yourself just out of the notion of attempting to remember a name. So let's get into it. When you meet someone, and this, I'm going to say this goes into play whether the name is quote difficult or not difficult. Uh, if you just say, hey, I remember faces and I remember names, like I said, you already sabotage yourself. But when you get someone's name and you meet someone's name, if you find the name is a little bit challenging, repeat their name. Honestly and truthfully, what I do, and I can only really speak from my experience, what I do is I repeat the name just to make sure that I said it right. And it doesn't matter if it's a more common name or not. I will repeat the name a few times, and I will also from there repeating the name. I put it in my memory, so I said it verbally, and I said it in my head. So I said their name. So now your mind is already in the notion of locking that in. Now the next thing is when you meet someone, it's important to connect the name with something. So, and what I mean by that is you asking them, okay, well, where are they from? So if it's John and John is from Ohio, you connect and you say John from Ohio, and you put that in your head and say that a couple of times, John from Ohio. Now, as you get to talking to John, think about some things. Now, a lot of times I might think of a rhyme. So I don't know off the top of my head what rhymes with John, but I might come up with something. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to use a rhyme, but I recommend a rhyme or something crazy you kind of keep in your head. So John could be in reference to like the bathroom. Like there are some people say, I'm going to the John. And that, as quirky as that sounds, if you say that and you just keep it in your head, you're not saying it out loud to that person, but you'll remember because it's kind of quirky. And you might say John and John. Maybe John excuses himself to go to the bathroom. So you've connected John with John. And so now John is in your head. And so you're doing that. Maybe you come up with a rhyme, but you want to do several little activities in your head. So that way you're connecting. The next thing I said, John is from Ohio. So you got John in Ohio. Now you get to know more about John as you have a conversation with them. Maybe John likes pets. Maybe John owns a certain dog or a cat or a fish. So when you have certain things as you connect with that person, that's just going to make it that much more easier for you to remember that their name. Maybe it's something they wear. Maybe they have a certain color shirt, or maybe they wear a certain type of shoes. Maybe there's something. And I actually had a young lady who used to work for me, and she was absolutely outstanding when I talk about networking. She made a reference to every time she met someone, she found something that she liked about that person and she would compliment them. And that was how she was able to connect and remember them. Now, you may not find something that you like about that person, but I mean, literally it'd be, I like your hair. I like that shirt, or I like those shoes, or maybe that watch, or I like that you like this. The key is taking that name and connecting. You want to take that name and you want to connect. And when you do that, it sticks. I promise you. I have been in challenges where I was at a leadership group and we had to memorize everybody's name. Well, we didn't have to, but we were challenged to memorize everybody's name. And I'm always up for that challenge. And I did the challenge and I was able to memorize everyone's name. But what I did to do that was I made reference of that person in connection. And for me, and this can be for you, it's really about making a connection. If you connect with that person, you'll remember that name. If there's no connection, there's not a name. Now, yeah, you can say, you know what, I remember faces and I remember stuff about that person in their face. Well, if you can remember that their face and you can remember stuff about that person, you can remember their name. Just take the name and connect to that. I'm telling you, it works. I do this time and time again. And just put yourself in a situation. Remember the people that you've met that remembered you, that took the time to remember you. Now, my name is Lutalo. And I get people to call me Lou, and I have no problem with people calling me Lou. But I'll be honest with you. The people that take the time to call me Lutalo, makes a huge difference. I'm gonna tell you personally. For all of us out there that have those challenging names, you know what I mean. Put in the comments if you know about the name and the challenge when it comes to names. And I've been in situations that say, I say my name is Lou Tyler. I say, do you have something for short? Yeah, you can call me Lou. Or a lot of times I'll introduce myself as Lou because I know some people may have a challenging time remembering Lutalo. I don't have an issue with that. But again, the person that takes the time to say, no, how do you say your name, Lutalo? And they call me Lutalo, respect. There's respect line. And so you can't tell me, for those you all who like that now, there might be some people that they don't like their first name. And very few people, I think they can appreciate their name and they can appreciate the person that takes the time to learn the name. And I really make an effort when I meet someone and they just call me this for short. And I said, well, I like to know your name. Now, when it's a unique name or a different name or a name that I haven't heard before, what I typically will do is ask them their origin. I ask them about their name. And that's another way for me to remember that name because there's a story to go along. When there's a story to go along with something, that makes a huge difference. So tell me in the comments, what do you think? Do you think a name is important? Do you feel like a name that does when you come across someone that remembers you and remembers your name and remembers something about you, does that make you feel different, or that it doesn't matter either way? Put in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I'm really curious. So if you want to check out more advice and tips about how to grow your network and social media, definitely check out my other videos.